You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 3rd meeting for the Long Beach Budget and Finance Committee. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good morning. This is the March Budget and Finance Committee meeting.
February. Oh, no, it's March. Never mind. Look at me. I'm looking at this. Sorry.
Did I put the wrong date?
It's okay.
It's the problem. And present, we have Chief Swistek, Mike Nielsen, Clerk Collins, Anita Remigis, Colleen Lane, Trista Hudson is here. Ryan McIntosh is absent. And what we were going to work on today, if you recall, last month, we went through the projections for each fund and had a nice look at that. Trista, when the meetings are this early, it's tough to get everything done in time, but I finished the bank rec late yesterday afternoon. Diane has 2 of hers completed. She's working on the Bank of New York because we have to request those statements. So all entries are made, though, through February. I know I never sent the January financials, but we will be sending, I'll include January with February this week for sure, before the council meeting. And so we were going to look at the capital plan today, which you guys have in front of you. That is the first, I guess, again, monthly financial statements you will receive, and then council and department heads will also receive shortly. And really everything looks pretty good. I did submit the AFR yesterday, so we still have a little work to do on the capital asset portion, but otherwise it is submitted on time, and I will post it on the website so that any residents can access it if they would like to. And then the notice in the paper is already scheduled, so we're all set for those deadlines. So yes, onto the capital plan then. So the projects that I think we need to discuss, Mark has very good information that he's worked very hard on for the salt barn. We need to settle on this leaf rate charge for Monday's council meeting. If you recall, I noticed it at $15. So we just need to decide if we are going to keep it at 15 or land on something less than that. And then this town sign survey, I believe, may be added to Monday's council agenda. So the survey came in at $5,000, so we'll discuss that as well. But those are the bigger projects as we go through the capital plan, which we did work on last month as well, getting some of the projects added and finalized. And then these couple more, we'll be able to tell what we can afford, hopefully. So, okay, so on that first page, I don't know if we even really need to go through every single department, but I know we did that last month. But you'll see water department stayed the same with the valves and the water tank painting. I did correct the CCMG, which fixed some of our bottom numbers during the update. We'd had 200 where that 140,000 purple is, but really the 140 plus the 60 makes the 200. So I adjusted that purple column, which was our portion of the match, because there's 2 match lines. So the way that this works is just, it states it accurately now. So far this year, we spent $75,000 on the Lakeshore Drive engineering costs. There were costs last year as well, but that's where we're at for 2026. So Mark, do you want to go through the salt barn? That's our next. We've got a snow plow on, or we can talk about the leaf first. Any preference?
If we want,
Salt barn?
maybe if we could talk about the leaf collection fee, I just want to share, especially with Trista here, the 5 pieces of equipment that we would like to look at over the next 7 years for the street department that may be relative to the leaf collection fee. So over the next 7 years, if we were to lay out capital funding for the replacement of 3 leaf vacs, 1 street sweeper, and then 1 F-550 truck. Those are kind of the things after meeting with Tom Dolph that are kind of the key pieces of equipment that he has over the next 7 years. All the leaf machines are very outdated. The street sweeper we currently have is a 1995 model that needs a lot of maintenance, and we're trying to get a trade-in value on that. Tomorrow and Friday this week, we have some demo street sweepers that are coming out. So we need to look at either leasing a street sweeper every year or look at a 7-year lease to own type purchase plan, similar to what we did with the John Deere payloader back in the day. A new street sweeper right now is about, on the high end, about $325,000. So they are much more expensive than what we originally anticipated. And then the leaf machines could go as high as $125,000 each. And then we all know the 550 truck. We have one that's on order now that's due the latter part of this year, first quarter of next year. Those are right around $155,000 each currently.
What did you say on the leaf machines?
The leaf machines are about $125,000 each.
Just so there's the bottom of the leaf page that you guys each have, and there's an email that states from Trista a summary on the leaf charge. So you do have, it's this one here, the bottom.
There it is. Okay.
The bottom kind of shows, it's not pretty, it's just something I put together quickly for myself, but thought could be useful for today. See how I have the 10, 12, and 15 on the left, and then just by year. And then the 125,000 would represent the leaf vacs, which I didn't even write in there, but street sweeper would be 325, the F-550 truck would be 155. But we did establish that we wouldn't pay for an entire truck out of this fund alone,
Correct.
but we could do maybe 50,000 or
Yeah.
something like that. So keeping that in mind.
A lot of the vendors, both vendors that I spoke to on the street sweepers, their mechanical street sweepers are capable of picking up sticks, even larger rocks, leaves. I asked, do a lot of communities use them for going through the neighborhoods after, the annual leaf collection? They're like, by all means, they do an excellent job picking up leaves and that. So therefore, I think we can justify using our leaf collection fee to help offset the cost of replacing our street sweeper. When I spoke to Tom Dolph, I said, what's your preference? Would you rather lease to own or just every year rent one for a month? And Tom's preference would be to have one available that after a major storm, he could just jump on it, go through the neighborhoods that were affected, pick up, the small sticks and leaves and stuff like that. Otherwise, if we rent one, say for the month of May every year, that's the only time we're going to be able to rent it. And to rent one's about $15,000 a year. I'm sorry, $15,000 per month. And Tom usually likes to get out in the spring and the fall, sometimes midsummer as well, if the time permits. So, we could spend upwards of $30,000 a year renting one, where if we did the lease to own over 7 years, I don't know, $60,000, $65,000 a year maybe to do the lease to own. So, or we're looking at the demo tomorrow and the demo Friday. We're actually asking them how often they have demo units that are less than the 325. It'd be nice to find one that's maybe 250,000. So we're going to ask that question tomorrow as well. They're capable of doing that. And the mechanics inside. I mean, currently the street sweeper we have, the operator has to have his right foot depressed to the floor the entire time he is cleaning the roadway. Could you imagine doing that for 8 hours a day? I mean, I drove it last year, and it's an old mechanical system. I mean, your foot falls asleep. The new one is just like driving a car. You get in it and you just drive it down the road. You don't have to keep a foot, pressed to the floorboard. So
So the current one you've had 30 years,
Mhm.
is that a good expected life of the new ones?
yes. hmm
And,
And the one we have now, Tom tells me we bought refurbished. It wasn't brand new when we bought it.
you know,
So
and a lot of hills in town and a lot of sand that some other places may not have.
Hmm.
Does that mean that the town needs a different model, or it's just simply they're all capable? Maybe that's what the demo will tell you too. I don't know.
very good question. That's what we're testing. The one tomorrow is a mechanical broom operated one. And then the one on Friday is a water operated, air operated, almost like a pressure washer style that blows down air, compressed air and water, and then vacs it up as well. So we're going to see the difference between the two and how it handles picking up the sand on Lakeshore Drive. So we're testing both models to see what is best suited for the town.
And how are the maintenance costs on what, those are two drastically different systems. With a vehicle, a truck, we know, okay, the engine, the oil, the tires, that kind of thing, but these are two totally different things from each other.
The current one we have is a mechanical broom operated one, and we've been able to maintain that in-house by purchasing our own brooms every couple of years, and then our staff are able to put them on. The new pressure washer style air compressed one, I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to ask some questions on, the overall maintenance on those. The repair, yeah. I think we're leaning towards more of the mechanical because it picks up the leaves and the sticks. We feel better than the air and water one. So yeah, tomorrow the mechanical one's coming out, and then Friday the other one. So we'll have a pretty good idea. But they're both in a similar price range. They're about $300 to $325. So
I have a fundraising idea for you.
I'm sorry.
She has a fundraising idea.
Yeah, for the street sweeper. The Zambonis at the hockey games, they often will auction off the little side seat for the kids to sit and ride on. You could figure out some kind of little
Ride in a street sweeper,
second driver for your
Yeah.
street sweeper.
sidecar.
Colleen and I would bid on that.
What time are they coming? You said one's tomorrow,
I think
which
tomorrow's 9 a.m. and 7 a.m. on Friday for the other one. So,
and tomorrow's mechanical, and
yep,
Friday at 7 a.m. is air and water.
right. We're going to test it on a couple streets here in town. Mhm.
Generates
Dust.
Mm.
then you're gonna generate more dust.
Yeah.
And Mark, if you're gonna test it, could you come up to stop 30?
Do go by your house with it. Yeah.
And
That-
kind of make it around the corner.
That and then stop 23 and 20.
Can we add mosquito spray in there, and then all the kids in the
Yeah.
like we used to?
So I guess getting to our 15 or, 13 or 12, if Trista can figure in those 5 pieces of equipment over the next 7 years and then see how that shakes out for the capital outlay, I say we base it then, if the $13 works, great. If it's the 15, then I think, the 15 to accomplish that, that's Tom and I, after meeting this past week, that's our opinion, is that those 5 pieces of equipment are the major capital items for his department, relative to the leaf collection fund.
But it also makes a difference is there any world in which we would purchase the sweeper outright? Or is the 7-year
The lease to own.
Also have your tank situation on that. Besides that. So,
Yeah. I mean,
And we can guarantee that a leaf vac in a few years from now is not going to still be 125.
it's hard to say. I mean, between now there isn't tariffs. At one time there was tariffs. The tariffs made it higher. So honestly, if you're looking that far out, let's say we replace one 5 years from now and we're looking at 125 now, I'd probably boost that number to 150.
Yeah.
So just to be safe. So, because things are just changing so much. And the same thing goes for the truck that's at, 1.5 now. If we did it in year 5 years out from now in the 7-year plan, I would probably say that's going to be $175,000. Yeah, maybe even closer to 200,000.
So what year are you thinking? Because originally we've got an F-550 snowplow in that pink color in 27.
That's the one that's on order right now. That one's approved and was authorized to purchase, and that's one is being made right now.
Thank you.
So,
And so the reference today to the 155 F-550 is really what we've got listed in 2029.
correct,
Okay.
at 200. And then even if we ordered it in 29, we probably wouldn't see it to 30. So,
Yeah.
It's this March.
Tom and I talked about that we think we just need the one more F-550, but eventually the Freightliners will have to be looked at, but we're going to run them till they don't run any longer, both Freightliners. Right. Yeah. Yeah. They only come out for the snow typically.
And then what about, Mark, the security gate and leaf machine? Or the security gate, I guess, the 30,000 in 27?
Not an urgency. It's one of those wish list items, so it can be moved around.
Okay.
We don't have any plans to do it this year. The salt barn takes precedence this year over the security gate.
Okay.
So also just noting that our current leaf charge is $10, which is $120 a year for a resident. $12 would be $144 a year, $13, $156, $15, $180. I did discuss with Diane that if a resident had to hire somebody to discard their leaves on their own, we believe it would cost much more than $180. So, if we come to the consensus that this is reasonable, based on these capital needs and also based on, what we're charging a household. Trista, that's a jump of $5. So I think if we're going to do any more than that, we would need to stagger it a little bit, but potentially. No, we looked at it. So
Fuel cost,
yeah,
salaries, we've got a lot of stuff built into it.
I do think we were basing our prior assessment on cheaper equipment for sure. So now that we've gotten some more accurate.
I don't think we had the street sweeper figured in there before either when we were looking at this increase.
Correct.
So,
And I think having Dan out there this week, I just talked to Dan Healy this morning. I talked to the other Dan yesterday. Dan Healy was just driving in his truck going around, and I was telling him, like, my neighbors lost their minds yesterday when they heard the street sweeper or him out, because they're, a couple of them are getting their blowers out there and, texting me. I'm like, he's out here picking up what was left over. So, so they're trying to get all that done. He told me about a couple places like where they're filling up 6 box loads. So I think, maybe people will get past what happened in November where the weather prevented the pickup. Some of my neighbors were fine. The stuff was out there on Oakenwald and we made sure that it was wet or covered. So I don't know that people would object. And you may have people who say, I never use it. And then again, some people are out there every day doing their leaves. So I don't have a problem with a raise. I'm just saying what Dan was saying, like he's out there looking around today
No, to Anita's point, Dan, yesterday when I met with Dan and Tom, Anita's correct. There are a couple homes, several that we go to, and we literally will fill the box once or twice, having to go back and forth to the yard to move all their leaves away from their property. And for $180 a year, you couldn't pay that for one time a year for them to come out, let alone the spring and the fall like we do. So I find it very hard for a grievance to say, 180 is too much, especially with all the things that we're faced with, new leaf machines, a new street sweeper, trucks, fuel, manpower, salaries, all that. So
And we're like that, on the first pickup, our house it's all they do, and then they.
And like yesterday, they had a hard time. The machines were clogging up because of the ice and the snow still embedded in the leaves. They're so wet that it clogs up the filters in the machine. So they'd have to stop, reset the machines and everything. And that's a lot of wear and tear on those machines as well. And they're older machines. So we will need to get a new machine in here in the next 2 years to replace one of the aging machines. So.
And then just to recap, it will be second reading of this leaf ordinance on Monday's council meeting on the 9th. We will have already started, we're into March, so this really won't take effect until the April billing, which is beginning of May. So, we did the water, which honestly, my own bill barely changed. I think it changed $3 or $4. So I think most people have not mentioning that because, we've done our study and our increase, if you will, which is honestly not truly an increase really, but, and then this will take effect 2 and change months later. We could push it another month, but I don't know if there's a reason to make it like a mid-year June start. No. We don't know when yeah. So.
Trista, when you put in the $15 with the pieces of equipment that we discussed, are you comfortable with that? Forecasting out?
The $15 will cover the 7 years we just talked about today. Is that what you're asking?
Mhm.
Yeah, without, because a little bit of this information is a little different than what we originally had planned, but the point still comes back to the fact that at $15 a month, because there is some capital built into the current fee, then you will end up with $100,000 a year toward capital. And with what you've just laid out, there's a good gradual progression ability here over these 7 years that should average out well. Your capital might be a little higher than 700,000 total, not by a lot though. And
Now,
I would expect by the end of the 7 years, somewhere probably year 5-ish, you might be looking at a new rate anyway. And so that new rate will help catch up then for the end of that 7-year planning. So I think 15 will be good. I was a little concerned initially that it was a high jump, but in seeing the things that you need to do, seeing the good life that you've gotten out of the street sweeper already, that just demonstrates really well for your residents that you're good stewards, and that you only look to raise these things at the time it becomes finally so critical that you're wasting money by repairs as compared to replacing it. So
The one vendor I spoke to last Friday, I was trying to get a feel from him what other communities are doing, because he tells me a lot of communities still do rent from them on a monthly basis, but the majority have switched over on the lease to own option, that they're finding what they're spending on leasing or renting every year a little bit more than 7 years they're owning a machine. So, yeah. Yeah, we've got a real mess on Lakeshore Drive this year to clean up. The amount of sand that blew in from the beach this year is the most that Tom's seen in several years. So,
well, shoot, 15 a month for rental. If you only rented it 6 months a year, maybe every other month, or, not the 3 months of the winter. 6 months of the year, you're already at 90. In 4 years, you pay it off and then you have nothing to look to have for it. If it was a life of a vehicle of only 7 years, then it would be different, but
Then the other thing is that we have to get a separate insurance policy to rent the additional machine where our current machine is covered under the umbrella of our current insurance. So just to rent to rent the machine for a month, we're spending about $1,500 above our annual insurance to cover this additional machine, where if we own the machine, it'd be under our normal property umbrella, and there'd be another $1,500 a year in savings. So.
I think it's really important that the same as the water, that you worked where if anyone complained about it, there was such detail put into working up how you did it. And that's what I see here too. I mean, even something as simple as saying the insurance goes up, we're paying for that $1,500. There's such detail put into this, and it's hard to say no to that. I know you're saying it's a $5 bump or something, but it's hard to say no when there's so many ideas, just what you said, such care and taking up the equipment. The insurance goes up, so many things tie
And this
into
is
it.
all assuming that our costs for the removal don't increase, because they haven't in many years. And I don't believe we've done a leaf increase in almost since this started, I think.
Right.
Maybe there was one lower rate. I looked at that with Diane. It's hard. There's no record of it in the system or on the bills, so it's difficult to track, but I should make notes of when we're increasing and what it was, keep a file on all of this, which I'll do.
And when is the rental sweeper coming? I know we talked about that. Is it?
We're targeting the month of May. We want to have everything done before Memorial Day. So
Thank you.
we'll make a decision next week after demoing both units this week, what vendor we're going to pursue. And then the council has already approved the rental of the machine for, I believe it was $15,000 that they approved. So
Did
I'll
we
get the
say-
contract to the council before.
Okay. And that was going to come out of operations, or do we need to look at that? The 15.
We were going to split it between some funding out of MVH and stormwater, because we could justify cleaning the roadways leading up to our stormwater infrastructure so that the debris doesn't get into our stormwater infrastructure. So between those two funds. Sourcewell. Mhm. Yep. Yeah, we talked about that, about government bid assistance and that.
Okay. So that's probably a consensus that we are going to recommend the 15.
I would agree.
Okay. And then, Mark, are you okay to go on to the salt barn next?
Sure. For the last 2 years, we've been talking about the salt barn project. Initially, we thought we could get this done for about 100, then it was 150. And then next thing I started getting quotes for 250 to high as like $380,000. The higher quotes were for a salt barn where we would be going into the ground with a footing, a foundation, a metal pole barn type structure. We've now changed gears, and we're going to go with the same style of building that the state of Indiana Department of Transportation utilizes. It's a fabric hoop style structure that would be 40 by 40. Rather than going into the ground, we would set this structure on 12 inches of subgrade gravel on precast concrete structures. The photo I just shared with you is one row of the concrete cast. We would go 4 rows high. There would be metal plating and also glue holding all those together. And then the structure would mount either on top or on the side of that. And then we would apply asphalt or concrete to the interior and the exterior apron of the structure. If the Budget and Finance Committee does recommend this to the council for Monday, I would like to approach the council on Monday with a not to exceed budget of $180,000 rather than the $250 that we originally had in the capital plan that we upped recently. That gives us roughly $60,000 to utilize for the demo and site prep, which would be the removal of the current structure, the prep of the 12 inches of subgrade for the building and the adjacent apron, and then the setting of the concrete structures. Roughly about $80,000 for the fabric hoop style building, which comes with a 20-year warranty, and then roughly $30,000 to $40,000 for asphalt and or concrete. And then that builds in about a $5,000 contingency in there as well. So our goal is to get it under the $180,000. Each phase, we want to look at doing 3 phases. The first phase would be the demolition and prep of the site and the installation of the concrete bunker walls. Phase 2 would be the installation of the hoop style building. And then the final phase would be later in the summer, would be the installation of the asphalt or concrete, both in the interior and around the exterior of the building, with the goal of having this building ready by the end of October. So. Yeah. Yeah, to get in there.
It looks like both ends are open, right?
The backside will not be.
Okay.
The backside will have fabric across the entire back with 2 3-foot by 3-foot vents to allow airflow through the structure. And then we are also pricing out an alternate to have some sort of frontal enclosure as well. It was recommended to us that we have a front closure to keep the rain from blowing in and hardening the salt on the front. A lot of structures that you see across the state do not have a frontal covering, but we're looking at an option that will be in our price quotes to see about the installation of one.
That was exactly why I was asking, because if we're going to invest, let's protect what we're putting in it to the best we can, right? So yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so we're hoping that all that'll come in under our budget of $180,000. So, which again is much better than the anticipated $250 to $350 where we started this project. If we were going into the ground, it would have been much more expensive. The other issue is the area where this building is going to replace the current structure. The land, the earth underneath that is fill, and a lot of the contractors wanted geotech studies. They wanted compaction testing. They wanted borings of the soil done. And Tom and I talked about it with one of the engineers, and it was just like, this is way too much to take on. It would have cost us $20,000, $30,000 in testing. And we're like, we just need to put down a good 12-inch sub-base, subgrade, and then build from that up. The first row of the precast will be set at least a minimum of 1 foot below grade, and then the rock up to that. And then the other 3 rows on top of that will be glued and metal plated together as that structure goes up. And then obviously we got to get state certification as well before we continue the project as well. But the first step Monday would be to get council approval with the $180,000 budget to move forward. And then we'll start getting quotes for each phase in front of the council as the project moves forward.
You're helping yourself with the item because now you can hold yourself. It's not going to leach into the soil. And the other thing is you're buying capability, or you're not at an offsite store, pay for offsite storage. Twice as much salt as we used to.
Yeah, to John's point, Cargill notified us this past winter in January that once we met our state contract, which we had 200 ton left that we ordered in January, once we exhausted our state contract, they could not guarantee that they would have salt available for us. It was explained to us that some of the barges, I guess, got caught under some of the lake that was frozen at the time. The barges couldn't get in. And so we were faced with, if we would have had a bad February, we probably would have been looking for other vendors to find our salt. Right now, we're paying about $90 a ton. I heard from some of the private contractors, they were paying in upwards of $400 a ton to get salt in February because there was not a lot of availability out there. So by us having the capacity to store double of what we store currently will be a tremendous cost savings if we had a bad winter. We would now be able to store up to 400 plus ton, where right now we can only store 200 ton. So we're doubling our capacity.
And then remind me, I think, some, what do I want to call it? Renewed contract or renewed,
With the town of Michiana Shores.
oversight with Michiana Shores, yeah.
Yeah, in their contract for them, we put that the availability for them to get salt from us is that we come first. And if we don't have the means to provide them with salt, that, we wouldn't fulfill, providing them with salt. So,
But they're caught up in paying as well, right? Like, wasn't there an
they had paid.
issue and then,
Yeah, I think they're still, I have to check with Deanna to see if they paid that last invoice that we just sent them. So,
I don't think they have yet.
yeah.
So you said we would have 4 of these hoop buildings?
Nope, just one.
Oh,
Just one.
okay.
There'd be four rows of concrete coming up rather than the one row you see
make
there.
it tall.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the reason for that,
Thank
the
you.
reason for that concrete bunker on the side is the photo that you have has an inside concrete bin liner rather than doing the inside bin liner. That eliminates a lot of our square footage inside the structure. So we're then going to go with the outside precast. And then on the outside precast, you'll see that we would have 4 rows going up rather than the one in the picture. So,
So when you discuss it on Monday, you'll do the Trista thing going
yeah.
on. And thank you, because when did you first start looking into the salt barn? And I mean, just how much has changed, not just in terms of money, but probably just what you've learned. And I think that's another thing that's important for not just council, but for residents to know that this isn't just like you just went out and said, Tom and I went and looked at a salt barn and then we said, okay, this looks good. Just the sheer hours put into it. And when you saw it go up to 250,000 and yet you kept at it and,
If you go on, you're welcome. If you go on Carroll Avenue, near the South Shore Station there on Carroll, you'll see they have a very large one. It's probably 200 feet deep, 100 feet across the front. And then if you go out on Michigan Boulevard by the airport, you see that Indiana Department of Transportation has one. They have one in Rolling Prairie. So these are very common structures. Originally we wanted to stay with the same concept of what we have with our street department garage and the lay of the land, and the buildings would match up. But then the cost came in way too high, and this just made more sense to do this type of structure. So
What's this cover made of?
it's like a 23 mil fabric. Yeah.
Plastic? Or-
Well, almost like a rubberized type material. And it comes with a 20-year warranty. So that's the warranty on it, is 20 years. So by then I will long be retired, along with most of us up here, except Meg and Colleen. So I said, except for Meg and Colleen, the rest of us will be retired in 20 years. So no offense, Trista, but I think it'll be time for us both to retire within 20 years.
I hope in 20 years I'll
Yeah.
be a few days shy of 74,
Yeah.
73. So
too.
Yeah.
yeah,
So my question would be, if Meg and Trista are comfortable with the 180,000, would be to approach the council and update them on Monday that we move the project forward with the budgeted amount not to exceed 180,000. And then the council would approve each step of the project through the quotes that would be received and reviewed at each council meeting. So. And then we can adjust the capital to reflect that as well.
Mhm. So, I mean, that sounds good to me. So,
About you, Trist.
Yeah, I was just looking back through a few of the extra cash balances. To give you some of that flexibility, and I think that should work, and to take advantage of the now reduced cost with the revised plan, but yet be able to capture those costs now quickly, I think is important.
Yeah.
You obviously need it. There will be other cost savings involved once you get that built, which are important, which is what we've been talking about now for 2 years. So as far as preserving the salt, being able to buy it at a better rate, all of those things. So I think it's well past time to get it moving. And
One thing we didn't discuss is with our state contract with Cargill, if we don't take delivery of our salt because we don't have the capacity to store it, we're faced with facing storage charges with Cargill, which the last I talked to Tom could be in upwards of $10,000 a year to store some of our salt there. We haven't had to pay that because we've been fortunate enough. We've been tarping it at a secondary location on site with a large tarp, which isn't the correct way to do it. And that's the way we have it stored right now. So that's why it's important that we get this done so that we're storing it correctly and no longer using, the tarp method outside in the yard. So, and the reason that's why we're tarping it is to avoid paying Cargill storage. We found a spot at the yard where we could place it and tarp it. So,
Just want to remind, maybe you guys have talked about this already, but if the legislation that's proposed down state comes through, you're going to be about 10,000 short on that holding amounts.
that it's going to increase.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to pass, but if it does, you can just think about it.
I think it did. It's just waiting on the governor to sign it.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Yep. John, didn't they go from 200 to 500 a member? Was that what it was? Mhm. Yep. Yep. Thank you.
Sorry.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's discuss for a minute. Paul Walzak with Park Board got back to me that they think their planning for across the street should be done around June, and that they may be able to do the tennis court work at the end of the season, October-ish. So
I missed the meeting last night. Like,
I didn't.
you don't know how much. Okay. All right. Sorry.
So I should watch that. But
Okay.
that being said, I guess, Trista, do you have the projections open? Or actually here, I have the cash allocation for the park board balance, but it sounds like we should not move that cost into next year just yet.
the 250,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's
Park-
fine, but it doesn't have any revenue to support it. So
Right. So park board's balance is 291,000. If they spend their 80,000, so if you recall, we're almost due to pay the Stop 29 contractor the final bill of 65,000. So that would come out of that balance. So yes, they would not have, if they end up, however these donors are working, however this is going to shake out, they would potentially not have the full balance if it's really 250. I'm not sure at what point we need to talk with Park Board and what they're expecting from the town versus the Park Board balance.
Peg, do you know, are there any, we talked about this before, fundraising activities that they're going to try and do to pay for a lot of this, similar like what we did for the police boat and other things?
Sure. I know that there had been a lot of talk about a group of residents who play pickleball wanting to donate a large sum of money to that project, but I have no updates on how any of that has panned out. So,
And we don't know what of the three firms they considered, we don't know what they're paying that
I
firm
don't
for
know.
this. So we don't even know what that cost is for the preliminary design.
Well, didn't they get?
Did they
I
get
think
a
what happened is they were going to use some of their capital to pay for this engineering cost.
Okay.
So they do have the balance for that. But at some point, we probably need to have more conversation about what their plans are through the end of the year. So just for the record. And then our last item to discuss are the town signs. So that is also on the capital plan under the town for 75,000. We received the email that the survey will cost around $5,000. I believe that's just the survey of Chaselton. Is that?
It's
Correct.
correct. That's correct.
So I think this will be put on council's agenda for Monday. I don't know, without having checked in with Cindy and or Kendra, once they do the survey, what their plans are as well. So,
I think it's my understanding the survey right now is going to give them a better idea of location for the sign. And then they need to cover the scope of work with a contractor and getting the bid for the cost.
but does that 75 include all the stops as well? Was that the whole, that was the entirety of the sign project, if I recall. So I don't really know what the breakout is on just the sign at Chaselton.
Yeah.
But I think before Monday, we probably need to confirm. My thought is that if we're going to spend this on this survey and then not do any work on it, is it the right time to do a survey? Just my thought, but, or do we allow that? I don't think the land will change drastically for when we do get to completing parts of the project. But council will have to think about what takes priority with our legislation, news. Any other comments or thoughts on that?
They haven't gone ahead with the survey because they were given, I thought that they were given a certain amount
What?
of money a couple months ago.
It was three,
I think it was up to three.
I think it was 3,000.
Oh,
I need to review the minutes. I thought they were approved $500 to do something over there, and then they were going to find out how much the survey was. I need to verify that 3,000 was approved or not.
yeah, I thought that $500 was approved for a prototype or something of the sign. Was that correct? I mean, I kind of
Yeah, I don't-
remember that.
I don't think a survey amount was approved. They needed to see what the survey was going to cost. Is that what you know?
I remember we approved something for something. I don't recall exactly what we approved for what. but-
Yeah.
Well,
'Cause I
Deanna
remember
was
asking
looking.
a question about it, like what exactly are we doing a survey for? Because the
I
signs, if
believe-
it was for one of those big expensive brick signs, I don't see how those were going to happen at all. So
Yeah.
that's why I think I asked about it too. Is it replacing all those black signs? That's what they wanted the $500 for a prototype for, but certainly I didn't see the need to start. Right now is not a good time to, which I've expressed before, to start building those big brick concrete things and spending,
Mark, are you sure?
$80,000.
Are you sure that 3,000 was approved, or you just think that?
That's what I recalled. And then Cindy yesterday emailed and said that that's what she thought it was 3,000 as well. And so it was less than the
I
5.
need to check on that. Okay,
But
before.
I'm not 100% certain, but I was almost, I thought it was 3,000
Well, Deanna was looking through minutes this morning.
Oh, she was, okay.
because Cindy had asked
And-
what we should do since it was more. And I recommended putting it back in front of the council since it's above the 3,000 to take it back to the council for consideration since it was $2,000 more.
I guess I think we need to follow up on what other information we need heading into Monday's meeting to make this decision. I mean, right now, we can, it appears to me that we can afford the $5,000 survey.
The survey, yes. The signs are more complicated.
Correct. I
If
agree.
in fact they're $75,000.
I agree. So at that point, is it the right time to do the survey to keep it moving along? Or is it going to be a standstill after that? I'm not sure.
I mean, in my personal feeling is, and we're talking the bigger signs, correct? Or the brick
The brick-
things.
Are we, yeah.
Yeah.
The brick.
I don't see those
Entrance
going
things.
forward. Yeah, I don't see them going forward. So do we just say, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, do we spend 5,000 or do we say the survey's not necessary right now? Or do we have the survey in case? I mean, you're right. It's not going to change much, but it is $5,000. So
I just think that $75,000 for brick entrance.
yeah,
I just think $75,000 spent on brick entrances for our town is.
that's just
exorbitant.
one.
I know, I just think, like,
Well, I think, didn't the project cover signs around, like at the stops as well? Or am I wrong?
That's,
Incorrect
yeah,
on that?
it's, they need
I
to
don't think
break it
this-
down more again because now it's older. So yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't,
anyhow. Do you want me to reach out to, how do you want to handle it for Monday, Chief? Or to ask, you want me to have Joy ask Cindy and Kendra to,
It'd be nice to get a timeline from them with the scope of work that they want to do in the next year. So,
And I do think so far, Kendra and Cindy have done a very nice job
right.
trying to compile this information. So,
Joy says, I think we just voted to get a survey quote.
that's what I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
I'll look at the 3,000 and that may be though. So don't mark my words.
so what do you want to do with signs? With Cindy? and-
Well, if it's going to be on the agenda, council, we're going to need to talk about it. And I think council members will just need to decide if they need more information or if they want to proceed and allow this survey to be completed.
Because we've been keeping it on the agenda under old business. So
And it's been
on.
it's on the capital plan. Again, I don't know if that 75,000 included a $5,000 survey or not. But so keeping the tennis courts, which again, clearly the town cannot afford that entire cost this year. So that's going to have to be discussed. And keeping the town signs on, we are shy 325,000, or sorry, we're shy 359,000. Also, though, we have water fund contributing 65,000 of the 100,000 for water valves. So I do think we could probably pull that difference out of the cap improvement fund because that is a capital improvement. So that would free up 35,000 from other funds. So actually that takes care of our difference
Sure.
without those two items. So
I think with Park Board though, I mean, those people, I mean, the pickleball people particularly who showed up were gung ho. They were ready to go. And I don't know when Park Board is going to pull the plug and say, okay, now is the time, let's get ready to go. And again, it speaks to their enthusiasm for it. I mean, we had the table tennis people raise money in a couple of days for a new floor.
well, I do think Park Board has been, they did their survey meetings. I'm assuming they gave somewhat of a summary of that at one of their Park Board
did.
meetings. And then now they're trying to pick whether it's engineering or architect or both to help design
They
something over
voted
there.
on that.
So I
I'm
do
not
think,
saying they're
I
not
do think-
doing anything, but I mean, and even at their meeting, where they gave the results, they just went through everything and then said they would look at what would work. So now they picked out of the three. That's why they had the meeting yesterday, because they didn't have a quorum the other night. So then they picked
Mhm.
who would come up with it. But I know Joy and I have voiced concerns about the 35% lot coverage.
Imagine. Mhm.
you know, you can
Mhm.
only say so many times.
Mhm.
You've got 35% lot coverage over there. So you just,
Well, and
I'm just saying for the fundraising, if they're going to, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right? I mean, they're running their own thing,
Right. I
but
think council will need information. You know, they have their allotted 80,000, which again, 65 of it is lingering from last year. They did not spend their full 80,000 last year. So again, you know, their balance, if they were to spend the 65 and do an additional and spend their other full 80 this year, you know, they still have some balance towards a project over there. Anything above their 80,000 needs council approval. Correct? Yes. So
Or is the budget?
that
goes,
includes
right?
the additional. So. Okay.
Just to kind of update you in 2027 on the capital. 2027 in capital, we have a $34,000 expenditure on a 2024 Durango, which is a lease buyout at the end of the lease. So either we've got to purchase that vehicle or return it. And then we have $70,000 for a new squad car purchase. So for those two is $104,000. I had a meeting again this morning with Drive Clean Indiana, reference the Indiana Office of Energy Development, the EV police vehicle grant that we're applying for. And I'll update the council on Monday. I'll have the finalized budget hopefully next week, but we're right around $238,000 is the grant request. Out of the $238,000, there was a webinar a week ago that the Indiana Office of Energy Development put on, and they're encouraging municipalities that want to have better success rate to have some skin in the game, to have some matching funds. The council at the last meeting approved us to move forward with up to $50,000 in matching funds. Right now, I think we have it penciled in at about $48,000 is what we're going to say is our 20% match. So this wouldn't be until a 2027 expenditure, but we could remove the 104,000 out of the capital and then just replace it with that 48,000 match. And what that'll do, it'll give us 3 brand new police cars, fully outfitted, us owning the vehicles, lights, sirens, radios, radars, cameras, everything in the car ready to be deployed on the road. Those 3 vehicles would cost us $48,000. And then we own them. And then we would return the 2024 Durango March 1st of next year rather than buying it out. So that's if we're successful with the grant. If we're not successful with the grant, then next year we'll be faced with making some squad car decisions, which I have a car in the shop, went in yesterday, one of our 2020s, which has been continually giving us problems. It's sitting at Auto Park Ford getting repaired right now. It's having engine problems. We're hopeful it's just spark plugs or one of the cylinders. So, but yeah, that's just to update you that we're hopeful to be successful with the 48,000 match, which would give us 3 police cars fully outfitted. That would be 2 Chevy Blazers and 1 Chevy Silverado truck. So GM recommended that we try both versions of their EV. So we decided to do 1 truck and 2 Blazers. Then that'll give us an idea where we want to move forward in the fleet if we continue with the trucks or the Blazers, because the truck gets over 424 miles range and the Blazer only gets about 300. So there's a difference on, you know, the miles that we'll get on a full charge and the cargo space, overall use, see how it handles in the winter, things like that. So,
Mark, what's the time frame again? I know you discussed it all at the last council
so
meeting.
grant application deadline's April 5th. The grant awards go out in the month of June. And then they anticipate contracts going out to communities September, October. And then the council would have to approve that. And then we could, after the contract is signed, move forward with ordering EV vehicles right now. I checked with General Motors. EV vehicles are at a minimum of 20 weeks to 30 weeks delivery time. So that's kind of the range right now is 20 to 30 weeks. So even if we went on the high side, you're looking at just shy of 8 months from time of ordering to getting the vehicle. So
And then when would we need to pay when they're ordered?
you only pay them when you take delivery, and then you're 30 days net from the time we actually sign the paperwork to pick up the 3 vehicles. So that would be the base vehicles. That's without the lights and sirens and all that. That would be done at an upfitter later. But once we sign for the vehicles, let's just say we sign for them February of 2027, we would then have to pay for the vehicles within 30 days, then submit to the Indiana Office of Energy Development the invoices that we paid for the 3 vehicles, and then we would be reimbursed by the Indiana Office of Energy Development, which Drive Clean Indiana tells me that the federal funds are sitting in the Indiana Office of Energy Development's state account to be awarded. It's just you can't get reimbursement until after we pay for the vehicles up front.
And that
And
was
typically
30 to 45.
30 to 45 days after we ask for reimbursement, they would then send us, I'm sure, an ACH or whatever to reimburse us for the expenditure. So I would say sometime in 27, if this grant goes forward, we would have to pay upfront for the vehicles, and then at some point also spend $48,000 in matching funds to get all 3 of the vehicles upfitted with all the lights, sirens, and other equipment.
And the upfront is going to be roughly that 238.
No,
No?
no, the upfront would be, and don't hold me to this. I'm just trying to figure out here what the
I'm
3
just thinking
vehicles
of in
are.
terms of the capital plan and how,
About 175,000.
okay.
That's just vehicles to the dealership. It's right around 172. I just want 175 to be on the high. So,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, because we don't have to pay for the upfitting and all that. Well, we may have to pay for that at some point when it's ready and then ask for reimbursement. So,
Okay.
but otherwise, the application for the grant will be completed by the 17th of March. It'll be emailed out to the council for review. And then at some point, President Schmidt would have to give authorization to submit the grant application prior to April 5th. Well,
Okay.
and then I'll update the council on Monday, all this information. Again, I just learned a lot of this again today. We've been having almost weekly meetings with the Drive Clean Indiana as we're working on the grant. And then the council approved $4,500 to pay Drive Clean Indiana to submit and manage the grant for us. And then we recommended that that come out of the police donation account. And we'll get that invoice after the grant application is submitted.
Thanks.
Yep. Trying to get some grant funds to save on the capital. So maybe a long shot, but it's worth asking. So, but
Okay. Any other comments or questions on it? Any capital? Our unfinished business of the sewer project, we're just going to still leave on there. We don't have any new business.
The only thing I had, Trista, was to ask you again to explain to me about the 20 properties that you wanted us to look
Oh, that
at.
was another thing.
I kind of let that ball drop and then I looked at my notes. So I know you wanted us to look at 20 properties representing different areas, assessed values. So if you can
Assessed
tell.
values, yeah.
Okay,
The point is to try to get a cross section of parcels in town.
okay,
We have a huge variety of things. We have lakeshore, interior. Then we have full-time residents, second homes. Then we have obviously the homes that we know are larger, whether it be square footage or parcel size versus smaller, but that contribution to the AV determination is for your town maybe more less involved in the AV as opposed to location, right? A smaller home on the lake
Mhm.
is going to be higher than a larger home inland, but and then trying to also identify possibly some homes that might be owned 65 and higher year old residents, because there's a capability of having a different deduction there than for a younger homeowner. And it's now an
65 years old and, okay, a
it's now
residence
an
age.
exemption actually,
Okay.
as opposed to a deduction. They changed it. Um, those are the biggest contributing factors. So my thought is that a few of you locally may just automatically have an idea of, okay, this home will be higher, this one will be lower, this home we know is a second property. And the 20 number was just to try to keep it reasonable, but yet have enough of a cross section that it could give some better insight into what April circuit breakers are going to look like.
Okay, so we're looking at okay, better insight into what the April circuit breaker will look
So
like.
that's the reason
Okay.
for doing it.
Okay, all right.
Um,
thank you.
There are also a change from what used to be deductions to now exemptions for anyone who's blind, legally blind, as well as veterans and then disabled veterans. The quantity of those, the quantity of homeowners who fit those categories in order to receive those exemptions or deductions are pretty small.
I mean, I
Right.
know one disabled veteran. That's interesting. So that's a deduction change?
It is.
Okay, so we
Um,
should look about to identify something like that as well?
If you know
Okay.
one off the top of your head without digging, sure. I mean, we may as well include that and be able to see
Okay,
how that may affect the taxes the town will receive.
okay.
One thing I didn't know until a few months ago was for that particular category of what used to be deduction, now exemption, if that exemption rises to the level of then essentially canceling all property tax due, under the state statute, they're allowed to even use the quote leftover exemption toward their excise tax on their vehicle. Which for veterans who are disabled because they served our country, that's a nice benefit to them. I don't know that that happens all that often, but it was interesting. It was a little part of the statute that I hadn't known before.
Okay.
So, that doesn't factor into what we're doing here. Have wheel tax, so that extra doesn't affect you, but
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we'll put that together. Okay, I think we will adjourn then at 7:15 PM. AM, sorry. Thank you.